Hello and welcome to a conversation on the Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller. I'm joined by a lifelong, true, and tireless progressive warrior from the state of Washington, Miss Marianna Everson. How you doing, Marianna?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's nice to chat with you. I think we connected through, I guess, just general Bernie activism on Facebook, and it's cool because there's really a network of us out there, and I saw you were running for a state rep seat in Washington, and I wanted to have you on to profile that race and learn more about you, and maybe how people can help you. Right? This is a seat
Yeah.
that is flippable. It is currently occupied by a Republican, which we will get into. But the first question I'm asking is, kind of your background. I understand you worked on the Bernie campaign, Our Revolution. Can you talk a little bit about your history politically?
Sure. In 2016, when Bernie ran, I went to the county convention and I went, holy cow, look at all these people that are for Bernie. I didn't know. I thought I was kind of alone. And so just right after that, I had seen someone that I went to nursing school with when I was there. And so right after that, I contacted her and I'm like, we have to do stuff. We have to do some stuff. We got to do things. So we started a little group. We called it Democracy Rising here in Grace Harbor. And we helped with some other campaigns that were going on already. Like they were trying to bring oil trains through Grace Harbor to use our port to ship it out to wherever, China probably. And so we just jumped into that, started helping, and we got help to get that stopped. There's no oil trains coming through, no bomb trains coming through Grace Harbor, so that's a good thing. And we just kept going. She and I sat down and said, if it's just you and me for the next 6 months, then it's just you and me, but let's just try. So that kind of evolved into a few other things. We made some we organized the group. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it, kind of stuff. And that morphed into an Our Revolution local group because we really were interested and knew that if we didn't have help people have a say in what was going on with their government, then nothing else. We could yell on the street corner all we want and nothing was going to change, right? So we did that. We started Our Revolution group, hooked up with all the Our Revolution groups in Washington, which is a really strong bunch of people working on all kinds of things, and happily have their endorsement for my campaign.
Awesome.
Decided to run because I got tired of contacting my local elected officials and getting nowhere.
Right.
So I decided that I guess if somebody's got to step up, it can be me.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for doing so. And professionally speaking, you're a nurse, lifelong nurse. Is that right?
Yes. Actually, I struggled quite a while in my 20s and early 30s, going from one dead-end job to the next, trying to keep going to school. I kept going to debt and then going back to school and going to the debt and working a while. Finally got through nursing school in 2011 and worked at the local hospital here in the critical care unit. And then I changed gears in 2017 and went into mental health. So I've been serving the people of my district. The way they organized Medicaid was that basically the BHO, the Behavioral Health Organization, was the same as my district. So I've been serving these people who are in mental health crisis for the last several years, and now I work at a hospital, a mental health hospital, where we help people recover from their crisis. So
yeah.
that's
So
what I'm doing professionally.
Yeah, and thanks for that noble work, of course. And obviously we're in a pandemic, and that's challenging. And there is a mental health component to that we're just probably even scratching the surface on. But
Yeah.
you're an advocate, obviously, for Medicare for all. Can you talk about that through the eyes of a nurse on the front line? The value of something like Medicare for all.
Yeah, even when I was at the hospital in the critical care unit, you don't want to hear your patient say, no, I don't want any treatment for my cancer. I don't want to leave my husband bankrupt when I die, and that's where it started for me, was that person, And I just had an emotional reaction that I'm still having today when I say that. All the way up to like just a few months ago. And the only reason I can talk about this person is because she did pass away. And so it's not a violation of my Socratic oath, but she passed away because she couldn't get the right treatment for her mental health disorder. Does that make sense? Like Medicaid wouldn't pay for it. Nobody does that sort of treatment in the Medicaid sphere because they can't get reimbursed correctly for it or at the right rates. So people on Medicaid can't get a DBT, that's what it's called, treatment. And that could have saved her. You know, I don't know that for sure, but it could have kept her from dying from suicide. So
Yeah.
yes, we all need healthcare, and just because you're on Medicaid doesn't mean you get everything that you need, right? And definitely not on Medicare right now. You don't get everything you need. My mom struggles with that. We need the, expanded and improved Medicare for all that Bernie and Pramila have on books.
Yeah. Yeah, that Pramila Jayapal bill in the House is fantastic. Sort of the most comprehensive version of it. It's funny. Not funny. It's tragic. You said as you were describing that, you just kind of threw out, if that makes sense, and I kind of instinctively said yes because I understood you, but God damn, it does not make sense. It's inexplicable that we live in this country that, you know what I mean? So, so thanks for raising that. I want to take a look at your district. So this is not a House race. This is a state House race, right? This is District 19. So I want to take a look at that and tell me a little bit about your district. So this is Washington State District 19, Timber County. A few cities in there: Aberdeen, Raymond, Long Beach, Menlo. Talk about your district.
Well, I'm sorry. I call it Timber Country because this is the place. This and District 24, which is north of us, all the way to the Strait of Juan de Fuca. This is the place where we cut down millions of board feet of timber and supplied all the boards that built literally all the houses after the Great Depression. You know how all those suburbs came bursting out of nowhere? Mm-hmm. That came from here. And it was a great and proud working class. I mean, they had to fight for that. The Wobblies, the IWW, and all different unions had to come together in the early part of the 20th century and make unions and force the bosses into paying people the right, good wage. And so for the last, from before 1980 and, from 1950, say, to 1980, there was a great working class here. And Weyerhaeuser pulled out. All the timber companies pulled out. They cut down all the trees, stripped us of the profits of our labor. They just took their money and ran, left us to die. And that's what's happening here. That's literally what's happening. People can't afford a house. They can't afford health care. The schools are suffering. Teachers are, have too many kids in their class. The counselors are getting cut. The paraeducators are getting cut. I mean, it's just not right. And the cool thing is that I see the way I see it, because the ultimate optimist that I am, is it's kind of a clean slate, right? We can start from here and build something really beautiful by investing in ourselves. And that's what I think we have to do with this COVID. In 2009, the state of Washington and all across the country, we saw austerity left and right. They cut this program, cut that program, furloughed the workers, did all these things to try to save money. But really what we need to do is invest our way out of this financial crisis that we have right now. And we can do that by creating a Washington State Bank, by taxing the rich. We have the most regressive tax system in the country here in Washington State. That's why Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates live here, because they don't have to pay as much taxes. They get all these breaks, and we pay more as a percentage of our income, I do, than Jeff Bezos does. That is insane. It's just morally wrong.
Yeah. Do they, as far as even to your level of a house in the state race, do they throw a lot of money into races like yours? Is it do you have a lot of, on the other side of the equation, is there a lot of, corporate PAC money? And you mentioned some names. Are they throwing a lot of money just to protect what they can protect?
I don't have any evidence that those specific people have donated to my opponents, but I do know that they take money from Eli Lilly. They take money from the Koch brothers. Jim Walsh takes money from the Koch brothers and all these other gross, industries that all they are doing is paying him to keep us divided. That's his role in his job, is to divide people up, to say that, look over there, look at that socialist, she's going to take all your money, or whatever, or they're going to take away your rights, you're never going to be able to own guns again, all of that stuff. That's his whole job, is to just try to keep people divided. And what I'm doing is trying to bring people together, and that's what I've always been doing ever since that day in 2016 when I was at the convention, right? That's all I want to do, bring people together.
So that's
because when you talk about the issues, you and I know this. When you talk about the issues, when I talk to you about housing, or I talk to you about going to college, or I talk to you about healthcare, we agree. Even when I talk to my Republican friends, we agree. When we ultimately get to the same place where we say, well, yeah, everybody should be able to go to college. Yeah, we should be able to afford healthcare. No, that's not right that lady died because she couldn't afford her cancer treatment. We agree. So we just have to have the conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the state of the state house, if you will? So Jim Walsh is the Republican incumbent, but I didn't fully understand that there's a position 1 and position 2. Position 2 is a Democrat, but you're in the primary and there's a second Democrat. Does that potentially mean that both of you would take position 1 and position 2? Like,
no, it's what it is. It's two different offices. So, Brian Blake is the current Democrat in position 2, and he has opponents that are running against him. And then in position 1, Jim Walsh is the incumbent, and there's 2 Democrats, me and Clint Bryson, running in the primary against Jim Walsh. So in Washington, we have what I don't like the term, but called the jungle primary. So the top 2 go on to the general. So there's 3 of us running. Whoever's left in the top 2 go on to November. So,
right.
Yeah, so it will, probably be Jim and one of us Democrats. But what we would really love to see is to just get Jim out in the primary,
right,
and it be between Clint and I. That would be wonderful.
That would be incredible.
He was out.
Right. So what is the state of the state house? Is it democratically held? It
is democratically held since 2018. It was pretty close there before that. And so in 2018, the Democrats kind of took it back. And it's mostly always been a democratically leaning House and Senate. So we got both the House and the Senate back in 2018. They passed quite a few awesome things. Of course, me being bold and a progressive, I would like to have it been more. But we do have tuition-free college for families that make under $90,000 a year in Washington if they go to a state school. So that was great. We did some good climate change legislation. Not enough, but some good stuff. And did some protections for tenants, which was definitely needed. When the state houses both are filled with landlords, it's a little bit hard to get some tenant protection. So I'm glad that that's been going forward, and I'll hope to continue that work when I get there.
Right on.
I'm a tenant myself.
So. Yes. Let's take a look at some of your platform issues that are listed on your website, I guess, as your priorities. And we don't have to go too terribly deep on them, but job creation, union and worker rights, this whole Washington Health Trust, is that like a state specific, like a safety net program? What is that?
Yeah, I would love to talk about this. I've been working with Whole Washington since 2017. Whole Washington adapted a bill that was already in the legislature and paid for a funding study by Dr. Gerald Friedman to figure out the how you're going to pay for it part of the equation, right? So we've got that down. We did a ballot initiative in 2018 where we collected 105,000 signatures, which we needed 280. So we didn't make it, but it was an all volunteer campaign, and we educated so many people on what healthcare could be, for us in Washington. So what this will do is it will cover everyone for everything. So all essential health benefits. If you look at Pramila's bill, all the things that are in Pramila's bill would be covered by this in whole Washington, plus like ambulance service and acupuncture, all kinds of the best coverage you could possibly think of. And it would save everybody money. It would save the state of Washington $9 billion a year, which happens to be the same money that is the budget shortfall right now because of COVID is $9 billion. So there seems to be some kind of correlation there to me. Yeah. So.
Yes, and two other things that are on there that are interesting. So your district is considered, it's kind of a rural area, right? The population isn't massive. Absolutely. I think it's about 127,000 people, but
right.
You have the coastline there, and you said one of the big industries was timber. Some of your priorities, you have municipal broadband, which is maybe a challenging thing, but then you have gun safety. I imagine that there's a lot of hunters in that area, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah.
You seem to be walking, both a sensible and the, sort of logical approach on gun safety. Can you talk about those two issues, municipal broadband and your position on gun safety?
Sure. So with COVID right now, our kids are, basically kids didn't really have school after March 30th, right? They just didn't, they had online stuff or they had some Zoom meetings, but all kids in our districts, they couldn't participate in any of that because they don't have the internet at home, or they don't have a device to connect to the internet, So a few places, they proved that this could happen, okay? So in a few places, outlying areas of our district, the local public utility districts, because we have PUDs here, set up hotspots so people could drive or go to like near a library or near some place and then pick up the Wi-Fi for free. So it's possible. We are already doing it. It can happen. We can have the internet. Nobody's asking for it to be free. There's going to be a cost. Everybody knows that. But in Grant County, Washington, the PUD wired everybody for internet, and they have broadband, super fast internet for a little more than half the price as the commercial internet companies do. And when I talk to the PUDs here, they're like, yeah, we can totally do that. It's already wired. We have smart meters connected to our house that has internet. It's already at my house, right? We can do that, but it's not cost effective. We would have to compete with the private companies. And I'm like, okay, compete. Gee, you can do it. You can already do it cheaper. And in Grace Harbor, they ran the fiber optic cable right here from overseas. So we could have the most fast internet service ever. We'll just play on my optimism again. And and our kids, our businesses, could be connected and be able to keep having business and keep having school, and that would mean a lot. There's many places in our district that your cell phone doesn't work, like you don't have and your internet service is basically dial-up. That's as good as you can get if you can afford that, or you can't even get it at all. Like I know some people that have like that HughesNet big satellite thing that's like slow as slow can be, and they can't even connect. They can read an email that loads in 3 minutes or something, Right. And then the gun thing. Yeah, starting to run for this office, I knew that I was going to get this question probably a lot, and so this is where I come from. Okay, this is my personal story. This does not affect my decisions on what I would do. This is just me being me. The first time I ever touched a gun was to take it away from my mother so she wouldn't shoot herself with it.
Nice.
So doing research, I find out that 50%, almost 50% of gun deaths in the state of Washington are suicides. And that's not okay. And so I kept reading and I kept asking questions and I kept talking to people. And what I've come to and what I believe and what I did believe before even talking to people with, but I just hadn't organized it in the same way, is that with rights come responsibilities, right? Majority of people are responsible with their firearms. At least I hope so, And so if we have to put in place regulations that make it so that people or force people to be responsible, then that's what we have to do. But because for me, it's about people being safe. Because I'm a nurse, I see what happens. I worked in the critical care unit. I, work shifts in the ER. We see what happens when people that should not have guns get guns.
Yeah. Is that in your district? I mean, this is maybe a bit anecdotal, but how much of an issue is guns? To me, I would rather have an advocate who is going to fight for my health care, right? And if part of that is being a little bit more responsible as a gun owner, then great, right? Do people vote strictly on guns? Like, how's
I
the?
think it's a thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been given the impression that it is definitely a thing. I mean, my dad was a hunter. My husband was a hunter before he went into the service. Um, it's not a big deal to me. You know what I mean? Guns have just been around me, and I'm not afraid or that's not even it. I want people to have guns if they choose to have guns, but I want them to be responsible with it. And it comes down to a lot of different choices that we make. And we could talk about we mentioned it in the pre-show a little bit about wearing a mask because of COVID-19, right? If people would just do the things that keep other people safe, the government wouldn't have to tell us to do the things to help people keep people safe, right? It's called integrity. Like, do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because somebody told you to.
right,
that kind of thing. So
right.
most people know that the right thing to do is to keep your guns in a safe and to have or have a trigger lock or keep them unloaded, or you know what I mean. Most people know that, and it's common sense stuff. I'm not telling anybody to give me their guns. I have them. I don't care, but just have them safely.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense for your district. It's, there's just propaganda. If you even mention guns, then they're coming to take your guns away, right? And
Right.
I can never wrap my head around, the primary purpose of a vote being defensive because you've been propagandized, right? Like, it's not, no one's coming to take your guns away. Marianna's trying to get you health care. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I'm
that to me is
also
always
like, if you think about it this way, I'm trying to preserve your right to keep your guns, right?
Right.
So if we have the OK Corral and everybody's shooting up everything, then something's going to happen. The government is going to take your guns away. So let's have some common sense crap that everybody can do and just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you a bit about just the challenges of campaigning in a rural area, especially during a pandemic. Like, how are you reaching people? I imagine people are pretty remote. Like, it's a big area and it's pretty sparsely populated. How do you reach people?
Yeah, it's been a challenge, that's for sure. I've been using a lot of social media as much as I can, but like I said, too many people in my district don't even have the internet, so they wouldn't know who the hell I am. But the coolest thing that we have going on is that we made these little postcards that have my picture on it, my name, a little bit about me, and then on the back is a place to write something. And we have over 24 volunteers writing personal messages on those postcards, and at 50 at a time, and sending them back to us. We're putting address labels on them and sending them out. And we're not sending them out to likely voters or Democrats, or, we're sending them to everybody. So hopefully they at least get to see my face, get to see a little bit about me. And I'm hoping that is going to make a difference. I'm already getting good comments from people about it. Oh my gosh, did you see that? It's so cute. Look how beautiful that is. So that's nice. We intended on knocking on 30,000 doors. Well, that's not going to happen. So I'm doing everything else that I can. The postcards, we're going to start texting and phone banking as soon as we can, which is also a challenge because we're a grassroots campaign, so we don't have $70,000 or $119,000 like some of the other people in this district. So we can't buy the phone numbers or buy into Vote Builder or anything like that. So that's a bummer. But we're doing everything that we can, mouth to mouth, person to person. People that know me are emailing everybody on their email list to tell them about me. We're just doing things that we can do, and that's enough for me. It's it's very emotional to me to have 300 postcards returned to my PO box and dump them out on the table and go, oh my God, look at all of these. It's wonderful, and we're having a great time. We're connecting people, and we're moving the movement. Right, we're taking steps, and that's what's meaningful.
It's back to that very first thing you said, where you said, I'm not alone, right? So when you see that pile of postcards that we're out there, there's more of, it's not me, it's us, right? There's a bunch of us's out there, right?
There is, yes.
It's good that you mentioned about reaching out to just not likely voters. If anyone viewing this, or if you've ever done canvassing in a rural area, it's so often that you knock on a door where that's the first time that door's been knocked on. Right? Or that's the first time they've been reached out to because they're not on those likely voter lists. So, you might be getting more bang for your buck just because of that factor. Right. So, yeah, that's fantastic. So so election day is August 4th. And I want to ask about the mechanisms of that, because I'm assuming it's a mail-in vote. But if there's anybody watching this that wants to help you send texts or send money your way, how can anyone help you?
We put everything on our website, and hopefully it's nice and self-explanatory, like websites can be. You can vote, you can volunteer, you can set up a meeting with me, you can, do one of these type of things. I set these up all the time. You can donate. We have an ActBlue link on our website, or you can send to my PO box, which is right there on the website, PO Box 333 Montesino. And my phone number is right there. You call me up, text me, whatever. I'll be there and listen and hear what you have to say. And if we don't agree, we'll find a way to find something that we do agree on, so that it would, we end the call on a good note.
Great. And I
definitely appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I have your Twitter on your handle, but the website is Marianna for the People, right? Is that the website?
Yep, MariannaForThePeople.com. And then I'm on Facebook, Marianna for the People, and Instagram as well.
Cool. So election day is August 4th, and I'm assuming it's a mail-in ballot. What are the dates on that? How can people cast their votes?
People should be getting their ballots by July 17th, so that's coming straight up. I think they get mailed out on the 15th. Should you get them by the 17th? And then they can fill them out and turn them in. We have free postage on our ballots now. That was one of the good things that we got passed last year. So your ballot comes with postage paid by the lovely people of the state of Washington. And then, or you can just drop it off in the drop box. Almost every town has a drop box. You can just drop it off in the safe drop box at your local county or city buildings. They have them.
Right on. Is there anybody else in your either on your ballot or in your district or in your area that you want to make mention of, that you're sort of campaigning alongside, that you want to just plug?
Sure. Our Revolution delegation, the people that have been endorsed by Our Revolution, in Washington are Jason Call, Joshua Collins, Chris Armitage, and then just north of me actually I'm in Congressional District 6, which is north of me, for Rebecca Parsons is running in Congressional District 6. So she's somebody that I will be voting for. I'm excited to do that. And then in our county, I really want to plug Jamie Nichols is running for county commissioner. I think she would be a great addition to our county commission. She will, stand up to the big bullies and do what's right for the people. So I like that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And you, of course, Marianna Everson.
Yes,
so,
please.
Yes, August 4th, look for your ballot. Please reach out to Marianna. And anything else that we didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something that occurred to me like a couple weeks ago. I really think, talking to other nurses that are running for office, I think nurses and other medical professionals are like uniquely qualified to get us through this COVID crisis. Does that make sense? Like, we're used to giving care. We're used to recovery. That's what we're trained to do. That's what the way we think. We don't think about what can we make just a little bit worse just to make something else better. We think about how can we make everything better right now? What kind of tools do we have? What skills can we use to make this better? So I think that sort of thinking is what we need across the country, but in Washington, to get through this healthcare and financial crisis, we have to think about how do we make things better, not how do we like juggle things to make it not so bad.
That's great.
It's not the way we work.
Yeah, imagine we had more nurses in the public office rather than lawyers. That would be a great thing. So,
oh my gosh, I did hear that in the Oregon primary, everybody that was a nurse or a doctor won the primary. So that's good news for me. Hopefully that works for me too.
Definitely. Very cool. Well, thank you, Marianna. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me. And, thank you for your career of caregiving, and thank you for stepping up to run. I'm sure, I'll see your name, blazing more trails and doing advocacy going forward. So you are appreciated, and good luck on August 4th. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.